Hi, this is Phil Hinton and welcome to another video here on AV Forums. Today I'm in the West End of London at a launch event for the Panorama 3 soundbar. This is a soundbar from Bowers Wilkins, and of course the market is saturated at the moment, so why should you choose the Bowers Wilkins Panorama 3 over the rest of the competition? I caught up with Andy Kerr to find out more.
So we're here for the launch of the Panorama 3. It's the third generation, as the name would imply, of our all-in-one soundbar. You might remember, some of course the audience will remember going back in the day, the original Panorama and then subsequently the Panorama 2 from 2013. They've all been designed as single self-contained solutions, not something that you add lots of components to. We already have products in the space that do that for us. The idea with Panorama is one thing, you add it to your TV and hopefully you get better sound from the experience.
One of the big questions that was asked when the story went live on the site was, where's the subwoofer output? It's not designed for that kind of user, is it?
It's not. I mean, listen, again, Phil, we produce, for example, the Formation Bar, but other products as well, where if that's what the customer wants, you can add a subwoofer to it. The Formation Bar, you can do it wirelessly. Other products, you can do it via a wired output. This is not about that. This is saying, hey, listen, if you love, for example, the sound that we produce with the Philips TVs that have sound by Bowers Wilkins, but you haven't got a Philips TV, or you don't want to change your TV for that model, then this is your solution. It's basically bringing what we'd like to think is the expertise we developed in sound design on those products to that broader audience. So to re-emphasize, it's a deliberate choice. It's not an accident. We've said, look, this is a self-contained solution. One component, relatively speaking, we like to think affordable. I'm sure you might disagree, but relative to some of the other soundbars that we've done in the past and some that are out there, it's not necessarily the most expensive product in the world. It's clearly premium. It's still designed for maximum performance, but the whole idea is add it to your TV, forget that, nothing else to add to it, and you're going to get good sound. You're going to get a good improvement in immersion, in spatial retrieval, and obviously scale and sound as well.
So demonstrations tonight were wall mounted, but this obviously can go on a tabletop.
Yeah.
Is it tuned in a specific way?
So it's not so much that you have different EQs to suit the different installation cases. Essentially, obviously, mounting it in free space on the wall, you're going to get a certain benefit in terms of the more open sound and the open characteristic that you get from that. If you mount it on a piece of furniture, then obviously the furniture, depending on where you position the soundbar, will interact with it. What we would obviously prefer you to do, if it's at all possible, is try and get the soundbar towards the front edge of the piece of furniture, so that you get the most open sound. But no, it doesn't have EQ. It doesn't have adjustment levels for example, the center channel, or adjustment levels for the output for the Atmos drive units. And again, I know there'll be some people who are going, why not? And I go back on the point, because the whole idea is HDMI cable into the back of the TV, enable TV speaker sound, done, walk away. It's supposed to be simple. It has decoupled high-frequency drive units, something I'm sure you're familiar with, something we've used in 600 series, 700 series, 800 series, and the Philips TVs. So the high-frequency drive units float inside their own sprung mounts, and that in turn helps, if you like, to open up the sound stage. It's got very substantial Dolby Atmos upwards-firing drive units. They're fully engineered for the task. So we think we get a good degree of immersion, even though we've deliberately chosen to make it simple. Pretty much the only thing you can do if you want to is adjust the high frequency or the low frequency. There's a treble and bass adjustment in the app. Yes, we recommend that probably in some rooms, depending on choice, you maybe put a couple of dB on the bass. That's fine if you want to do that, but otherwise you don't really need to do too much at all. It's supposed to be simple. I keep saying that, and I think sometimes the word simple connotes negative, and it's not supposed to be here, it's supposed to be positive.
So it's not inexpensive at £900. It is fairly basic in its goals.
Yeah.
So who is the end customer?
Well, the end customer is the huge number of audience that have regular TVs that are currently not necessarily enjoying great sound. It's not talking to your guys that have got AVRs and 5.1 speaker systems. It's saying to those guys, well, fine, you might have a second TV in your house. Wouldn't you like better sound than that without all the wires and all the other stuff? Or, of course, it's saying to the customer who's got nothing at all, this is a way of getting better sound from your TV experience. So it's got a reasonably smart way of dealing with incoming content. If you feed it stereo, it will automatically convert that to a 3.1 configuration, so it will go left, center, right, plus the subwoofer. If you feed it anything with Dolby encoding, so Dolby Digital Stereo, or 5.1, it will automatically turn that into an Atmos-related codec, because it thinks the likelihood is that you're watching TV content at that point rather than listening to music content at that point, or of course film sound, in which case what you want is the full film experience. Of course, if you feed it native Atmos, whether that's Atmos of something like Netflix or something like Dolby True HD Atmos, it will deal with it and give you Atmos, because clearly at that point what you want is full fat Atmos. So basically it's relatively simple but also at the same time intelligent in how it behaves. The other one, of course, is music use cases. We have the Bowers Wilkins Music app. We don't currently within the music app have any of the Atmos encoded music streaming services. We will have, we don't currently. At the same time, if you were to connect it to something like an Apple TV and you have an Apple Music subscription, it will give you Dolby Atmos music as well via the Apple TV, and of course it will recognise that the Atmos content's incoming and therefore feed it to the correct channels. Away you go.
So it obviously people can hear the crowd behind us. It's been a busy night tonight. What is it that you hope people will take away from the demonstrations you've given them today?
Well, the demonstration was relatively simple at the end of the day, let's be honest with you, because we recognise fully that most of the audience want to go and listen to it at home and try and get from it what they want to get from it. I don't think any home cinema demonstration or any Atmos demonstration has to be about boom and bang and scale and power and room shaking bass and all the rest of it. If you're trying to demonstrate a custom theatre home cinema system, that's a different thing. But this is a soundbar. What we're trying to do here is, can you understand what's going on? Do you get improved intelligibility? Do you get improved dialogue clarity? Do you get the sense of spatial placement improving? Do you get a greater sense of dynamics and slam and scale? And when you feel like the movie's approaching crescendo points, does it feel like the sense of range and scale that you're experiencing from the sound matches up to what you're seeing on the screen? That's what we're trying to get to. I don't think at any point anybody felt their sofa shaking, but that's not the point of the exercise here. This is just trying to say, does it make the TV that you watch every single day sound better? And hopefully you'd agree that it did.
And what have you done in terms of UI and simplicity of setup? What is it that's unique with your soundbar?
So it's got ability to be set up via the app, the Bowers & Wilkins Music app, which is the same thing that we use on our Formation-enabled products and also on our Zeppelin. You can, if you so wish, control it via the EARC functionality. It's got that capability, so your TV remote control or your Sky Plus remote control or Sky Q remote control or Apple TV can be set to control it if you prefer. But of course, typically you can just use it off the EARC hanging off the back of your TV and away you go. So it's very simple to interact with from that point of view. The app gives you additional access to all the music streaming services and all that additional functionality that are embedded within the music services. There is also the capability of adding AirPlay 2 or aptX Bluetooth or Spotify Connect if you want to go that way. And all of that's guided and controlled by the app if that's what you want to do. You can also use the app to control volume up and volume down and switch sources, but we think realistically most of the time you're either going to be watching film, watching TV, in which case you're going to use a TV remote control, or listening to music, in which case you use your phone. Seems like a fairly straightforward use case from our point of view.
People have noticed that there's a video playing with Abbey Road and your speakers within Abbey Road. We had a film composer here tonight talking about music and film and how it's used for emotion and so on. What is your story here with the soundbar? What is it you're trying to say to people? Because it is a crowded market when it comes to soundbars. They're all available at different price points and so on. So what is it you would say to somebody about your soundbar that ties in with everything that's been going on tonight?
It's a difficult one to get across without wanting to sound disparaging, and it's certainly the last thing I want to do, right? I think the thing that we feel benefited about is that we're able to say our speakers have been present at the creation of a huge number of film soundtracks. And that's both in terms of things like Foley and specific technical sound effects, and of course music scores. And we've been using multiple places across the world to do that as well. So the chances are, most of the major films, feature films that you like, somewhere along the line there's been a Bowers & Wilkins speaker involved. Some simple examples, Return of the Jedi, Going Forward in Time, Braveheart, Apollo 13, going forward in time from that, all of the Lord of the Rings films, all of the Harry Potter films, all the Hobbit films, all the Avengers films, 1917, Last Night in Soho, as we were discussing earlier on, Gravity, Fury, all the things that we've been talking about this evening. Bowers & Wilkins loudspeakers were present and were involved and contributed, and were a fundamental, if you like, influencer on the final sound mix that you then subsequently experience through your own home audio system. So our argument is purely that, okay, that's great, fine, wonderful. If you would then like to try and experience that through a soundbar, as opposed to a massive speaker system, wouldn't you like that soundbar to come from the team that's responsible for the tuning of the speakers that were involved in the creation of the film content? Now, if you don't want that, that's fine, that's your choice. But that, we like to think, is the selling point that we can add. We know how it should sound. The speakers were used to create it in the first place, and hopefully that's what we can bring to the party with the soundbar.
Just to wrap up, when can people get hold of one and how much does it cost?
So it's $899. We've obviously had our launch event now. We'll be shipping through later this month, and we're going to have quantity stock in market from April.
Andy, it's been great to see you again. Can't wait to hear the soundbar in my own home. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Love to see you soon.